come in and could you doing as I discuss one of the latest additions to Palia, building blocks and pavers. Teased a few months ago by Singularity 6, the building blocks have been introduced as a way to let creativity run wild and to give extra flexibility to the existing building add-ons we don't quite have. So of course, you can go to town and make a huge parkour course, or make your plot feel a bit cozier and use them to decorate. Not to mention, we also have the long-awaited pavers, which can allow you to do a lot more than just create pretty pathways. Regardless of what you have in mind for the building blocks and pavers, today's video will share some ideas, tips and tricks of what you can do. Before you get building, you'll need to head into Kilma and pick up the recipes. For the building blocks, head to City Hall, while for the pavers you'll need to head to the Badru Farm Register. The majority of the building blocks cost 100 coins each, but the large crate in both the wood and stone versions costs 400. And then for the pavers, these will set you back 1000 coins each. And overall, to craft, you'll need a variety of raw stone, raw heartwood, sapwood planks, stone bricks and ceramic to craft. Now we have the base info out of the way, let's get into those tips and tricks. Blocks will automatically try to align to the grid and attach to other blocks close by. When you connect blocks together, they will create a grouped item that you can use as a singular object, but if you're working on a larger build and something has been missed, on PC, select Alt to hopefully collect all the items in close proximity. It's also good to know that if you place an item off the grid or without the snapping, as long as they are connected in some way, they usually do still form a group too. Pavers are not getting left behind in the whole grouping either. When laying down a path, if a paver is sitting near another one, they will automatically create a group too. However, just be aware with these as it is not always that obvious, and I find it a little bit more confusing to understand when I was first playing around with them. For pavers, they do have a slight randomness to when you lay them out. Generally, these show as a variety of sizes and textures, so it does really make them a well-rounded object to have for decorating, and it adds a bit more realism. If you need a specific size or texture of paver, just keep trying to place the paver down and cancel if it isn't the one you wanted. They will eventually spawn the piece you need, it might just take a few attempts. Blocks and pavers can be used both inside and outside of your house, so go to town and use them as makeshift dividers, walkways, fake rooms, raised platforms in your homes, extended structures like balconies, porches, or even unique builds like sheds, tree houses, towers, and more. And since some of the pavers have varying sizes, these can be great to act as decor like placemats, trays, boards, etc. If you want to see some ideas, I am currently working on a video with loads of new ideas for blocks and pavers, so make sure you subscribe if you want to keep an eye out for that. For any building plans you have, don't fret about having the exact location straight away, as you can move them once you have the base structure. I did this during one of my streams in order to create a tree house, and it made the process a lot more simple without having to worry about falling down or making sure I could get into every nook and cranny that I wanted. It's also super handy as you can rotate your objects once you've built them, so I think I will eventually move the tree house I originally created so that the open balcony is actually facing one of the ponds. I think that's just a bit cuter, but I would suggest having a general idea as to where you want your final design to end up, particularly if you're reaching for the stars. Building blocks love to get up close and personal with their fellow blocks, and by this I mean they will easily merge and clip into each other. Sometimes it looks a bit glitchy, but you can use this to your advantage to create curved-like structures and objects using the crates, or if you need something to have a slight overlap to complete a room section, the blocks are more than happy to oblige, which to me is such a bonus as it allows us to be a bit more creative with how we use them. Both the blocks and the pavers have a lot of flexibility with how they interact with other objects. For this point, I want to actually share my treehouse with you all. For the pavers, I used the wooden planks to create both a staircase and a banister around my treehouse. These allow for some interesting item combinations, especially just now when we don't really have fence options and it's not possible to place fences on floating structures. For the blocks, I have attached various items throughout, including a makeshift chandelier, an emberborn hanging plant. I've also attached several wall decor, including photo frames, lights, and placed several rugs on the floors too. The most interesting thing to me though was how I was able to hang a light off the edge of the floor piece. I think this could make some really interesting floating structures, and I'm so excited to see what people do. Something I really love is that the foliage in this game works so nicely with the building blocks and pavers too. With the flowers, you can practically put these wherever you like. You can place them on top of the pavers, block floors, crates, and my favorite, the pillars. I think they just look like little floral stands when sitting on top of the pillars, and the only block you can't seem to place them on is the ramps, and I think that is okay. However, I do think if you place a floor piece underneath first, you can maybe work it around that way. For the trees, there's definitely more limitations as you can't place them in many of the ways you can place flowers. However, they still overlap with pavers and floor blocks. Plus, as I've shared with my tree house, they will clip through the blocks, giving a much more realistic look to your build, and it really just makes it feel like a proper tree house and not just some floating blocks. A really simple tip, but should not be understated at all, is the fact that the blocks can give height to so many items. I think pretty much all of them. I particularly love the idea of raising the bellflower fountain and adding other fountains around it, or even just creating a small seating area. I think it helps make it feel so much grander and more just like luxurious. But I think the main reason to do this is to make a big focal point of an item. So I definitely plan on doing this later in the year with the winter lights tree, so it stands a bit taller and makes this most spectacular Christmas focal point. P.S. Sorry, I'm speaking about Christmas in June. The last tip I want to share is related to a specific furniture set. When we got the Palia collection, I know many of us were excited to display these outside of our homes to look like working pipes, but we couldn't. But now with the building blocks, you can place your Palia furniture on top of them and then place them wherever you were originally hoping for. So live out those pipe dreams and get placing Palia furniture outside. Well, I hope you find all these tips and ideas helpful. As I stated earlier on in the video, I am working on a building blocks and Paver's build idea video, so make sure to subscribe and put on that notification bell if you are excited to see that video. And in the meantime, let me know down below in the comments what your favorite thing about this update is and what things that you have already been creating with the building blocks and Pavers. But until the next video or stream, stay safe, stay cozy, slanja, bye!